what's in the news. But first I must say a happy independence to my Jamaican audience. Today they're celebrating their independence from August 6, 1962. So happy independence to all you Jamaicans. Let's go to Nevis. Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs Mark Brantley is urging the United States government to rethink its embargo measures currently in place against Cuba. Addressing reporters referring to the 60-plus years of sanctions on Cuba, Premier Brantley said that those restrictive measures have only redounded to hurting the ordinary Cuban people. To this end, he urged U.S. President Joseph Biden to have another look and to seek to loosen this terrible blockade of the island of Cuba. Premier Brantley questioned why Cuba has not been allowed to move on and continue with its development. Quote, "The rest of the world, including those who waged war on others, including those who initiated the worst atrocities in the world, has seen peace. And they now sit at the table of brotherhood. And yet, Cuba, a little off the coast of Florida, is continuing to be pressured, and the Cuban people continue to be pressured in this way," reminded Brantley. Cuba has been one of St. Kitts and Nevis's and the wider Caribbean's closest ally, especially in the area of medical assistance. He said, "I believe that all of us owe Cuba a debt of gratitude." All right. In St. Vincent, disturbing story coming out of St. Vincent there. The Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines was struck by an object on Thursday during a COVID-19 related protest and was sent to be flown to nearby Barbados for medical treatment. That's according to officials there. Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves had been walking through a group of some 200 protesters to reach the entrance to Parliament when he was hit by a projectile just above his temple. His office made a statement on that account, gave that account on Thursday. A witness who had seen the protesters and had seen them throw water bottles and stones heard a person in the crowd yell, "Somebody busted the Prime Minister's head." Images published showed that blood from PM Gonsalves' head had stained his white shirt as an aide held a wad of paper towels to his head. A statement recently from the PM's office says he has confirmed and he has informed his colleagues that he is recovering and doing well. Disturbing, because that is not the type of politics we do here in the region. You disagree, you protest, peaceful protest are what we are accustomed to throughout this region. And the fact that, people are throwing bottle and stone, and here in this case the Prime Minister got injured as a result of one of those things that was thrown at him, we seem to be going down the wrong road when it comes to our political discourse and disagreements. In Haiti, it went to the extreme. And let's hope this doesn't signal a new trend in this region. We have different values in that, and I hope that this doesn't head in that direction, and this will be the end of that. All right, so much for that. Okay, it is an open Friday, and we had a short week, and we should be happy it's Friday. It wasn't too tough this week. We had 2 days off, Monday and Tuesday, and came back on Wednesday. We weren't here on Thursday as a result of the National Assembly. So on Monday, we were still free to talk about any of those events. On Monday, we celebrated and remembered Emancipation Day, which was the first, celebrated on the Monday. Got the holiday for that. Tuesday, we got a holiday for the usual Culturama Day, even though Culturama was scale back, and didn't have much of that this year due to COVID. On Wednesday, we talked about customer service and the lack of, how poor it was in St. Kitts and pretty much throughout. Yesterday on Thursday, we had a sitting of the National Assembly. And while we on that sitting of the National Assembly, I was pleased to see a resolution passed in the National Assembly yesterday that honors Dr. William Manasseh Connor, or Brother Connor, as we in the village would have known him affectionately. Some time ago, in memory of the life of the late Reverend Dr. William Connor, OBE, and his service and his work rendered, there was a monument erected in the village, what we now call Dr. William Connor Memorial Square. It was officially unveiled in on a Sunday in 2013. I think it was June 2nd. The square, located at the foot of the Infirmary Road, which is just meters from the Antioch Baptist Church, and the erecting and unveiling was also significant because in that year it also served to commemorate the church's 50th anniversary, and it is in the heart of the village. As a pioneer and visionary, Reverend Dr. William Connor, OBE, began his religious work with the establishment of a Sunday school in the community of the village back in 1949. Reverend Connor, along with some 21 charter members, painstakingly structured the foundation of the Baptist movement in St. Kitts Nevis, with the pioneering of the Antioch Baptist Church on March 5, 1963. Dr. William Connor was a hero of the people and a champion of God's cause from 1921 to 1990. I am one of those persons as a youngster in the village who came through the Antioch Baptist Church, because my own family and Brother Connor were very good friends, and they all were members of the St. George's Anglican Church. So I started out in the St. George's Anglican Church as a result of that, being christened there. And when Dr. Connor decided to move on, my grandparents joined him when he started up the Antioch Baptist Church in the village. So then, of course, I had to follow that. So lots of good things were said in the National Assembly about the life and the work of the late Dr. William Connor, OBE, all of which I support, and all of which support the idea, and more reason for us to take the next step and make him a national hero. I continue to advocate for that. And if you listen to the reading of that resolution yesterday, I mean, all the things that they talked about, all of which I remembered as a youngster. Starting a vacation Bible school, around this time we would be in vacation Bible school. On Sundays, we all remember the voice of Brother Connor coming around and saying to Mommy, send your children to Sunday school, don't forget. So, to Dr. William Connor, we remember on the 100th anniversary. Okay, so that's that. His great nephew, Pastor Lincoln Connor, continues the good work at the Antioch Baptist Church, and Pastor Penny in Molyneux continues the work, and Pastor Hazel continues the work in Sandy Point. So there you have it. Okay, it is an open Friday. Whatever is on your mind, feel free to give us a call, 465-2555, and 718-577-2916 are the phone numbers if you would like to weigh in on any of the things I just talked about or any of the matters throughout the week, starting with Emancipation Day all the way through. With that, let's go to the phone. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Mr. Nyers, good morning. How are you?
I am well. And you?
I'm doing great. Mr. Nyers, your topic is quite touching. Well, you know, I am not as close as you were to Brother Connor, but I think I may have heard of Connor in his days. But, Mr. Nyers, you know, this brings me back to something that I read over on your station before pertaining to Lord Macaulay's letter to the British Parliament. And I'm not going to go back to all of it, but just to state that when Macaulay made his observation on the continent of Africa in the geographic space of Nigeria, he stated that he never come across such wealth and all that, and he decided, when he wrote to the British Parliament, he says, we will not be able to break these people, the very backbone of these people, until we break their spirituality, their education system, and what else? I'm not finding the letter right now, but you know I had it. But the fact that these people were spiritual, and Lord Macaulay wrote, and they finally broke the backbone of that spirituality. It brings me to this point that I want to make, Mr. Nyers. Who is God, or what is God? African spirituality is a dynamic expression of God. In that sense that, you know, we have to realize that nature is a manifestation of God, the cosmos. Everything originates from God, but it is God, nature in its essence, divinity itself, and only African spirituality shows so much reverence of nature. We have to recognize that there is nothing except God and nature in his or her manifestation. Mr. Nyers, more and more, as I am on this path that I have taken, the knowledge that is coming to me is coming from within myself. One of your callers mentioned before that when we came down into this geographic space through the transatlantic slave trade, the spirit didn't depart from us. That spirituality that we had on the continent of Africa, it came with us in the Caribbean that we find ourselves in today. Mr. Nyers, you can remember there was a time when the community did raise a child, where if your child did something in another adult present, that adult could have disciplined the child, and that child could not have gone home to complain, or else they would have got a second set of chastisement for committing something that was wrong. Today we have Christianity, Mr. Nyers, and this same Christianity that we have is from what Lord Macaulay's letter to the British Parliament in 1835, when they broke our backbone and they gave us Christianity, Mr. Nyers. We have to find our way back to what we had, that spirituality. Now, I want to say good morning to Mrs. Henry, if she's listening, because she responded on maybe a different radio station that, if she's listening, that Lord Macaulay did not succeed in what he set out to do. I disagree with Mrs. Henry, because the very fact that Mr. Lord Macaulay stated that they will, until they break the very backbone of the education system, the spirituality, and something else that I'm missing right now. That is why we have Christianity today, and this Christianity that we have, we are plugged into their narrative. We are living their narrative. And one of your callers also mentioned that this God for nothing that we are plugged into with their narrative of Christianity, we need to see beyond this, because this is not our God. This is not the spirituality that Lord Macaulay and the British Parliament broke us from. Mr. Nyers, we need to find our way back.
All right.
This is restoration time. Thank you for taking my call.
Let's go back to the next caller. Good morning. Welcome.
Morning.
Good morning, caller.
Yeah, Tony, good morning to you, sir.
Hey, good morning.
How are you this morning?
I am well.
I understand Friday you usually take the liberty to allow people to discuss any topic.
Yes, it's an open and clean Friday.
Oh, I see, good. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on a matter, and it has to do with COVID. And I begin by saying that, I'm kind of unhappy in terms of what has happened in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in terms of the Prime Minister being struck by a missile. But what I really want to say is this, that I recall, if you go back to your Bible, or whatever scripture you read, or whatever you believe in, and I believe it's in Chronicles, second book of Chronicles, and somewhere in chapter 7, it speaks about God saying to us that when he shuts the heavens, there is no rain, and he commands locusts to devour the land or send a plague among my people. And then the kicker is verse 14. He says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive them and will heal their land. And I think those last 4 words, will heal their land, come into fore at the present time. Tony, I think we have missed the important point, that God has really provided us with a miracle. And it's not just one, it's in about 10 parts. Because I think in Cuba there are about 4 or 5 vaccines. In the US there are another 3. You have also the Oxford AstraZeneca, which is the one that we've used. So the point is that there is a healing as far as the people are concerned. I mean, this was done not overnight as some people want to think. I mean, people have been working on vaccines now for many years. And because we have these pandemics in cycles, people have continued working in terms of developing the vaccines. And that is why this particular set of vaccines took a little less than a year in some cases, because work was being continuously done on vaccines. So the question I have to ask persons, if it is we say we want healing, and in this case in terms of the COVID-19, are we saying that people don't want to be healed? That people want to get sick? I would like anybody to call you and say, well, they're not taking the vaccine and they don't care. I am saying that if we read whatever scripture, whether your God is Allah, whether Muhammad, you name it, whoever you look to for your spiritual guidance, the point is there is something and many things here which can heal us. I'm saying that God has listened to the prayers, certainly the prayers of the people. Everybody wouldn't pray, but the point is he has allowed us to have vaccines, not even one, vaccines which will heal us. And my understanding is if you were to come down with COVID and you're fully vaccinated, then it would not be severe. You won't be hospitalized. So the final thing I want to say then, I am shocked that we have allowed the pandemic to become political. I'm really shocked that we have allowed that to happen. Because what you're saying to me, you're in the opposition today, you form the government tomorrow. If you take a stand as opposition about the vaccine, which is negative in a way because you're saying people don't have to take it. When you become the government of the day, the question is, are you going to change now and tell them that they need to take the vaccine? And in terms of our tourism industry, Port Zante, as far as I am aware, is the only cruise port that I know of that is open to the public. If you have gone on cruises, you know when you go to a cruise port, it is enclosed, and you just have the people who are working inside there. You have the taxi operators, not even all of them, but you have them inside there. So you have, let's call that a bubble. In St. Kitts, that is not the case. You and I and anybody else can go on Port Zante. So you realize about the problem we're going to have here if we continue in terms of tourism, that there is no way that all those shops on Port Zante are going to be able to survive, because the tourists, our guests come off the ship, they go in whatever the bubble is, they go in a taxi, they go to specific places, they come back and back on the ship. And nothing will happen on Port Zante. So I want to say to our people, it is time for us to wake up, man. Let us understand that if we really want this land to continue to prosper, let us all get vaccinated. Let us all get vaccinated. Those are my few words.
Okay. Did you follow the situation in St. Vincent, I take it? Are you still there, caller?
Hello.
Yeah, I was getting your thoughts on what happened in St. Vincent.
I support that new caller you have there, who just called in.
Yes, go ahead.
I support him 100%. But at the same time, you have to do something to contain the port. If you said you got to put up fences around and got one exit point, have two exit points, or three exit points, that is how we're going to have to think. You cannot have a port you build here, and because they never fence them properly, that people must suffer down here. And people are complaining about the ship them going up too sharp. I want to tell you, Mr. Myers, Mr. Sharp and them don't make nothing from the ship, just but the umbrella, the chair, and the table. Everything done by the ship up there. They use the beach, they rent the barbecue pit and thing, and the people then bring the food from off the ship and barbecue up there. You understand me? So it's only the beach that they use up there. They don't buy nothing up there from inside the bar, not the restaurant, nothing at all. But at the same time, that never created for that. If anything, let the ship come down here and the taxi man then take them up there. You understand? The people have to live. People is catching the royal. The man over here got $millions of dollars invest, and they just got them in a vault locked up. So something has to be done.
Yeah.
Something has to be done. You got a place in nearest making fence. Make a deal with the people in the nearest making the fence up the place, so you could get one exit coming in or two exit coming in. You can't keep the port like this. You cannot do it, you cannot walk. But I understand what you call it, just about the vaccine and all kind of thing. And here again, you got to blame the government for that. Because it's time enough the government should have done put down the foot on them with the vaccine. You cannot have people working in the hospital and they're vaccinated. You cannot have police in the police force and so on. They're vaccinated. And police in immigration and all them places, immigration officer who's not vaccinated. So you set the example by discipline your own first. You understand me? And who can hear by the ear, they hear by the ear. You understand me? So I hope something work out that everybody could think. Not one thing, I made to understand last night that Nabu said he coming down. But I went to tourism this morning to get some magazine. So when the ambassador going back up, I will give him to give Nabo. Because that's the closest he gonna get to sink it. Okay?
All right.
All right. Okay.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the phone. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, how are you?
Yeah, I'm well.
The man asked before rock. He couldn't say it. I agree with him. Who don't want to take it, don't take it. Nobody getting on so. They're up and down town with giants in the car. 5 minutes like 15 years, 15 years out paper. And be careful here. So when they're ready, let them come. Because they won't be in it. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too. Have a good weekend. Back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candy. Good morning.
Yes. The dead man was talking about quiz fraud and what is fraud and stuff like that. I don't think he ever went to a Sunday school in Hillel. He was like an 80s or something. Sorry.
That's it? That's your contribution?
That's it, yeah.
Okay. All right. That's yours. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Mr. Lawrence, good morning.
Good morning.
I heard a little now. A gentleman a couple calls back. And one of the things he indicated is on Port Center. When it was announced that the ship was supposed to grace our shores, for the first time again after such a long time of ships being absent. And even though in the port station we would have accommodated more ships, 4, 5, 6 sometimes, and one would have gone elsewhere apart from the official port facilities being the Port Dante and the Deepwater port. Symbolically, at least, and from the government perspective, that we are the ones who are in the console, the driver's seat. The very first time that ship would have graced our shores, it should have came down at Port Dante for an hour or two or what have you, and then if the arrangement would have been for them to go elsewhere in our space, that would have been more like welcoming to all, because the cry and the appeal went out to really save our economy. And we know predominantly coast tourism and tourism in general is a backbone, so to speak, of our economy. So by allowing the ship to come down at Port Dante, our official port facility, would have sent a message to all stakeholders, whatever little role we might have played, up to the breeders, that yes, this symbolically is a sign that our economy will rebound in terms of to coast tourism and the like. It sends a bad picture for the ship to have come here, even though we probably would have been on the coast and sea going to where it went, and not as opposed to coming into the Port Dante, where we know it ought to have come. It sends a bad message.
All right, well, caller, that was
and
just...
so, one last thing. And
yeah,
so,
quickly.
even me, myself, as a taxi driver, who would have gone there, be it a ship, a big ship, or a small ship, or however little, sit there, or what have you, whatever time I might have sat there for, trying to apply my trade, even though I would pack up and go home without a day pay, because it has happened for some of us, a lot of us, several times. We would have accepted that, as opposed to the ship coming here and going elsewhere. We need to get everybody involved, because I think everybody got on board, or majority of people got on board to try to help with economic rebound. Thanks for listening.
Okay. Back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome.
Hello?
Yes.
What happened? Mr. Nias, good day. You
Yes,
see,
good day.
we here in Tinkers, we seem to be people who react instead of, we react to things when it happens, or while it's ongoing, before, and don't act and stop. That ship that is going over, the Seabourn Odyssey, that is going over to Shaft, even before the pandemic hit, that's where you usually go.
Right.
That is where that ship usually go. And no taxi man used to make any noise about it going over there. He had time, Mr. Nice, when they call from over there to ask for taxi operators, and nobody will go. Nobody going over there. Not for nobody over there, because they don't want to go over there. They don't care about that. But okay, now, that seems to be the only ship are coming, and the government should stop them from going over by shark. That is where the ships are accustomed to be going. And we must stop, come on, and we airways when certain things are doing, and make it look like, the government would have set up something for somebody. Even if the government did set it up for sure, let's say, but it didn't happen today. It didn't happen after the pandemic. So why then we didn't act on it when it happened before? Why are we waiting now to talk about it? When that ship used to come in all the time, I know what sharp is where going. You never come in time. So sometimes we come on the radio and we give impression to people who probably don't have that information, that somebody is now doing something for somebody that shouldn't be happening. Everybody's supposed to get a piece of. Other people could have been getting a piece of it in 2019, 18, 17 and so, but they didn't want none. They didn't care about that shit. Anyway, another part thing that I want to speak about is with the Cuba situation. Remember, before Castro take over Cuba, right? Cuba was like a part of the U.S., was like a territory of the U.S., right? So then when Cuba and them used to do all kind of deals, everything was good, right? After the Castro thing, and Castro think that, well, he could run Cuba himself, without having to deal with America or wait for probably handouts, or America to tell them how to run his country. You know, this is when things change. But we also got to blame Russia too, because Russia is part of Cuba's demise as it is today. Because remember when Russia wanted to get closer to America, to set up base closer to America, they choose Cuba. And when they get what they wanted, they pull out and they leave Cuba the way it is. You know, so all of the blame should be on America. Some of it should go to Russia too. Because Russia used Cuba for what you want. I remember it was said that Russia was trying to move into Grenada, while Grenada had the problem down there also. So America is not okay. Yes, America done a lot of nonsense to Cuba, and they should be held accountable. But America is not the only country that should be accountable for Cuba's demise. Russia is also should be accountable too.
Okay, and that was a point we were trying to make earlier with the caller with respect to the seaborne Odyssey. That is not an indication that all ships are going that way. The Odyssey goes that way, but glad you cleared that up. Back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome.
Yes, greetings.
Greetings.
Thanks for the information, Flo. So far,
Yes.
shavings will be August month. We want to say blessed Earth month to those all the August babies, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a man who we know well, the whole race know him well, and other races, Marcus Messiah Garvey born on this month, yeah. The number is the 17th. And we know all of us know how we live, what he stood for. And he said he would love to see it to posterity, you know, he love to see them kind of flex in the race to posterity, you know, where he put race for us. So let us just reminisce upon them vibes here and see if it make us a better people going forward, you know, as we ought to be. Restoration. You know, talking about that, we're seeing certain things unfolding in the islands of St. Vincent, you know? Mm-hmm. Very unpleasant. We see blood run, give thanks no life lost. I don't think we hear about that. But it's funny to see how them use that kind of thing to divide we, you know. Them use religion, them use politics, you know, them use germs warfare. Like here, who talk about conspiracy theory, you know. We know what go on from them time to this time, you know. We take sleep mark death, you know, and all of us in the same boat, we the same people. None can change that, even though a lot of things that try to change it. We should just make sure that we mark things what go on in the midst from them time to this time and try to know ourselves individually within the scheme of things and let it become a collective knowledge of, you know, consciousness of race and African centeredness, because indeed the naked should be told, you know, we are not We are not West Indians. We're not West Indians. We are who we are, and it will never change, you know. In the tourist industry thing, you know, we see tourism as it is as an affront to our dignity. And we always say, this morning we listened to the Honorable Minister of Tourism said that 6,000 people plus, let's carry to 7,000 people benefit from tourism. I mean, what's our population in next society? About 50,000 something?
About that, yes.
Yes, so what happened to the other percentage, you know, in terms of, you know, everybody for benefit from this in a tangible and touchable way. So we still say that agriculture is the way to go, because the benefits, monetarily, economically, it's great. It outweigh that. And the other benefits, which we talk about health, our health, which is priceless. I mean, let us consider, we really need right faces in the right places, man. I mean, we dragging the foot too long, too much pussy footing, man. 40, I think it's Nevis. Oh, we want to thank the Honorable Premier of Nevis for remembering Cuba at all times when the agitation touched him, you know?
Okay.
Give thanks, sir.
All right.
God is the naked truth. Blessed Lord. Give thanks for the time.
All right. Back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome. Okay. No caller there. All right. A whole lot to uncap from those first set of calls there. Port Zante, St. Vincent, COVID, Dr. William Connor, Seaborn. All right. It's open Friday, so whatever is on your mind, feel free. We'll go back to the phones and see who is here. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Ness.
Good morning.
You're not saying this Jamaica's independence today?
Yes, it is.
And we're mashing up the Olympics.
Okay, good.
Just thought I would mention that.
All right.
Vasili.
We did mention it.
You should be proud of Vasili.
Okay. All right. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We did at the start of the program acknowledge the independence of Jamaica today. Back to the phones. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
I'm back again. I took into the National Assembly yesterday when the representative for Nevis 11, Minister Alexis Chifford, was giving me, the support to the bill. I think the bill at hand was something to do with the land. But something struck me about that bill. And even though I was not predisposed to what the entire bill entailed, something that came across my mind with a conversation you had with Kalonji when he said he was going to try to establish a sort of initiative. And what I said on that program is that there are certain lands on Candid that have a good agricultural foundation in terms of what our forebears would have planted, maybe on sugar estate lands or sugar lands back in the day. And some of those lands, what I'm saying may not pertain to what they debated in the House yesterday with that land bill. But it's a part of our security, our food security. Because there's no way those lands should be put up for sale by total foreign persons that gonna come purchase these lands which has a foundation on it already, as opposed to persons who are here and showing interest in purchasing those lands, considering That is people who planted trees that are 10, 15, 20 years old and done has a foundation. And having to relocate people from those lands to accommodate certain other people. And then people now who are being relocated have to start all over from scratch, having to source the trees from maybe agriculture or elsewhere. It cannot be right. Those foundational lands are supposed to have a priority to prosperity of people who, forebearers, contributed to the maintenance, the foundation of those lands, the tall mango trees, whatever fruit trees are on those lands. Those are foundations. And those lands are supposed to have priority for prosperity, nothing tangible because of a monetary money should able to trump prosperity in terms of this is a foundation that's supposed to be passed down to this nation's people, where ordinary people would have been able to survive by getting a guinea or two or a mango or two, as opposed to other persons who would see these fruits rotten without allowing ordinary people to get something off of those fruits just because of money. These things should be passed down to posterity and shine in our laws so that what is on the land, those who are on the land could be beneficiaries. I'm not talking about theft and petty larceny and those type of things. Thanks for listening.
All right. You got a caller? Let's take this caller. Good morning. Welcome. Good morning, caller. You're live. Okay. I don't seem to be getting that caller there. Let's try this one. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Knight.
Good morning.
Yes. I think we find ourselves in a kind of a quandary right now, insofar as the way forward with tourism is concerned. I think that too much emphasis was placed on getting to herd immunity and not enough on a plan after that. Okay, we should have been well ahead, I think, with how to extend the bubble as we open. It's almost like a dog running after a car wheel, like how they like to do that. And when they catch up with it, they don't know what to do with it. I think we're in that position now. So here we are, one of the most highly vaccinated countries in the region, and we are still here wringing our hands as to what to do. And I think one of the main reasons for this is that we do not really control the tourist industry, In the grand scheme of things, we are really small potatoes. You see how the big ships that were supposed to have come here just canceled on us? I mean, how many of us here in St. Kitts and Nevis are willing to go on a cruise right now or a vacation in some far-off land in the current COVID environment, current COVID situation? Well, similarly, that kind of mentality exists in our tourism, the main tourism market. It will take a long time to get back to the numbers that we had before because people are understandably reluctant to go far from home or be packed on a ship with people from everywhere who they don't know, vaccinated or not. Okay? The risk is just too high. And people, I think, are just catching themselves. And so we should be hammering out a strategy to deal with that instead of waiting for the industry to deal with us. With regards to the unfortunate incident in St. Vincent, I can't believe this firebrand Marxist-Leninist lecturer at UA in the 80s have really come to this. It's really sad that at this, what should have been the pinnacle of his political career, he is now crowned in this fashion. It really should not have taken extreme actions by people who I'm sure once lauded him and supported him, and he fought hard for. And now it's obvious that some of them at least have had enough. And now they're telling him to bow out. It really should not have come to that. And I can't, but the violence in politics is something that we should all be very careful to avoid. But I must add to that the oppressor always wants to tell the oppressed people how to respond to their oppression. If you look through history, a lot of the revolutions that happened, this is how they started. Okay? And so, why we condemn the violence? We know that historically speaking, usually history absolves them. Okay? And finally, about emancipation. It was not a good look, this Emancipation Day, when people with placards in the square of all places are being accosted by police. Simply because you have the power to do something, that does not mean you should use it. Okay? To me, the police went overboard in taking away the placards. Just leave the people. They don't want to threat to nobody. Right? Let people express themselves. Let them vent. Okay? So that's how I look at it. For Emancipation Day, that was just not a good look. That's not what we expect on a day where we celebrate freedom. No way. Okay then.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome. Yes, go ahead.
I want to be a little different though than we are in St. We always tend to think that we are the best food to everything and everybody, and not ourselves. Why I say that is that look at the cricket that is going on in the Caribbean. We know how we have been treated over the years in the cricket and stuff. To be getting the same treatment. I overheard a conversation. I'm not going to call. I recall some names, but not the persons who was the perpetrator of what I'm going to say. I wouldn't call those names. But I overheard a conversation, and the conversation comes from direct report that during the time when we had the lockdown here, right, there were some practice matches that was taking place over David. I think was either I don't know if it's a full team from St. invited to come over to practice. And I think it had something to do with maybe doing the Leeward, trying out trials for the Leeward Island team. And I think probably the Patriots, the people to scout for the Patriots. And the first team that went into battle, I think was a team from Navy. And I was told that they made 160 or so thereabouts. And then the team from St. Peter, the team that had in more petitions from St. that more petitions than when the turn came to back out, and they started out bad, straight. We at one time I thought they said there was at 20-something for 2, and then there was this guy Kyle Louis, I think there's another one in the wicket. Kyle Louis, I thought was on 78, not out. And the other person, I think was his brother, I think was 20-something not out. So, and from the way they were going, they were set to make the score, that was given to them for them to win the match. And I told that the person who organized the match, a big name in terms of cricket around the region here, break up the game because what? It appears like Kyle was on his way to make a century, and like that person didn't want Kyle to. I hope Kyle's father is listening, or his parents is listening, so that they could clarify what I'm saying. Because I don't want it to be people to think that is some rumor or some damn thing. Anyway. The case that Kyle was waiting to prevent Kyle from making a century, the match was broken up, right? Another thing, there's a guy, Berridge. He played in the West Indies tournament that we have here. That that they chose people to get onto the West Indies team. I think like 2 years ago, he came out with the most wickets after not playing all of the games. Right? He still ended up with the most wickets and could not make any of the West Indies team that West Indies selectors would have chosen. But yet, this guy steals from Trinidad after playing one first-class game, got into West Indies first team against South Africa. You know, so it appears to me like Kitchen seems to be, we want to play host and perfect host to outsiders, but not our own people. When we get to our own people, we see crucifixion. You want to crucify your own people, and that shouldn't be. It's time we need to stand up, especially when it comes to cricketers. The cricketers before would have gotten too much on that mouth, and it's hard to see that much people are not going into the cricket now because probably based on what would have happened to the generation before them. And the few that is in it still getting about, and nobody says nothing about it.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, caller. You're live.
Yes, pleasant good morning, Mr. Nair.
Good morning.
Yes, I'd like to highlight an issue that I don't think is getting enough light shone on it, and that is the issue with the nurses up at our Joseph and France General Hospital. Some of them have an issue of being paid monies for what are called sessions, which you could say like maybe like they're working extra hours, and some of them have not collected any monies since May this year. And I'm reaching out to the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Finance, whoever has jurisdiction over these monies, that they need to have our nurses paid. These ladies are heroes in my book. They should be given hero status come independence because they're on the front line every day, pandemic on a pandemic. And I mean, I grew up around my old grandmother, and she always say, what you work for, you look for. And if these monies are owed, some sort of resolution has to be met because school is going to open in September, and these ladies have the stuff to buy for their children. They have the bills to pay. I mean, it's not fair because I don't know, at some point in time I may reach up the family member of mine, or anybody could reach up the hospital, and I want to know the nurses are focused on me 100%, not they're wondering when they're going to get their money. I mean, this is a wish of appreciation for hard work. I thought hard work supposed to be rewarded, not you got people wondering when they're going to get their money. I mean, this is not good enough, and quickly. And the incident that happened in this square on Emancipation Day, if this had happened in, say, America, and some white police officers had done the same thing, a lot of us would be crying racism and how they could do black people this and that. But when it's our own doing it to our own, what is going to be the response? And I believe we should have the same kind of fervor for oppression, no matter what color the oppressors are. Thank you, Mr. Nair.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll take a final call. Good morning. Welcome.
Mr. Nair, good morning.
Good morning.
I hear this caller on the radio. He said he's going to go on all the radio with this thing, what he was saying about the nurses. But what he should have done first, go to the Minister of Health or the Prime Minister, and if they response and he come on the ear, because he just wound and he come up and he doing something. He should have done the right thing first. Go to the Minister of Health and see the problem, and then come on the radio with it. But he ain't getting nowhere. So he need to go. When the Prime Minister on a Tuesday night, call the Minister of Health and talk to one of them, because he don't know the problem, he don't know the circumstances, so he needs to just get to one of them, and if they respond to him, then he come back on the ear and let them know nobody is him. And you say something about Brother Connor? I remember Brother Connor, if my mind could serve me right, Brother Connor was a postman in the 60s. And the first Sunday school I went to is next to the fire station, right there where they used to have school, and he had Brother Penny, Brother Denzel Cook, and Sister Blancy Moses. All of them used to be in the church with him, and then he went over by the Cock and Hen Tree. So, Brother Connor and the churches come a long way. And Mr. Naya, you have a blessed weekend.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay, we got a caller? If we do, it will be our last.
Hello, Mr. Knight.
Final caller, go ahead.
Go on.
You're live, go ahead.
Mr. Knight, my family have land in South Valley. This is Sullivan Alfonso in New York. Do we have to get a new deed for it?
I don't have that answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Knight. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too. And as I said at the beginning of the program, today is Independence Day for the Jamaicans. Happy Independence Day to you. And while I'm talking about Jamaica, there's a story I want to follow. A friend of mine sent me some information of some sad stuff coming out of the UK. Mass deportation flight to Jamaica is happening on August 11th. Jamaican nationals are being held at an immigration removal center near Heathrow Airport. Mass demonstrations planned for Wednesday at 2 p.m. outside the Jamaica High Commission in London. And they've been told Jamaicans are being rounded up and brought into the center every day. A 65-year-old man was held last night after living in the UK for 30 years. Another man has 7 children in the UK and is being held. His wife had a baby 2 months ago. Another man held as 5 children in the UK had to flee to Jamaica as a child after he was from Jamaica, as a child, now being sent back after coming to the UK at 10 years old. His life is in danger. So it's a story we'll follow up next week on to see what's the situation there with mass deportations back to Jamaica from the UK. I'm Tony Nias. It is Friday. Go out and have a good one. Stay safe. And we'll talk again on Monday with much more right here on Frank and Candid. See you.
Yeah, I know we can make it. It's only just a phase. Once we're vaccinated, and everybody gon' be safe. Everybody gon' be safe. One kind, yeah. One people. We are roll up to roll up, yeah. 'Cause no man's alone. Do what's right, alright. 'Cause I love you, brother, my sister. And we're in this together, my sister, my brother.